We are kicking things off with the Switch 2. So the murmurs are starting. The people are starting to talk about some of the new features that are coming down the pipeline. And basically, this news initially broke by the Video Game Chronicles, or VGC, as we can kind of call it going forward. But what
Mhm.
ended up happening is they caught wind and spoke to some people who actually got some of the dev kits. So dev kits
Oh,
are officially in the wild, and so they spoke to a number of different resources and a number of different people out there. And according to multiple people, that the company is looking to potentially be releasing the Switch 2 in the second half of 2024, Brandon. So we
oh shit.
are
Okay. We still got a
basically,
ways.
yeah, so basically about
1 year out.
yeah, one year out from where we are kind of currently at. The current rumor right now is that it is going to be bringing the power of roughly about a PlayStation 4. So
Oh,
much
fuck.
higher,
Okay.
much higher than what the current Switch is outputting. Obviously, not a
Yeah.
PS5, not an Xbox Series S or X, but a PS4 in your hand and like giving developers the ability to kind of like, all right, I'm gonna make a game on PS5 and try and scale it down to PS4 is much
Mhm.
more doable than what the current flow is of making a game and trying to scale it down to Switch.
Which I guess kind of makes sense even like with the new the announcement of Red Dead Redemption being re-released
Yeah.
onto Switch and PS4
Yeah.
as a port. I guess they're kind of getting to see how that type of biome works maybe with the Switch technology.
Yeah.
Um and like even just thinking about that, like what the Switch's power scale is right now is what, like a PS2 Plus or like
No,
PS3
PS3. I think
maybe?
it's a PS3. I would put it at.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we're talking about one more console generation. Like, can you imagine what the next Zelda looks like
Yeah.
with the power of a PS4,
Yeah.
considering what they managed to pull off with the PS3?
Yeah.
Like, as I remember, that was a pretty big jump. Like the jump from the PS3 to the PS4 felt big. Like I still remember playing Black Flag and being like, "Holy fuck, this is next gen! Like this looks
Oh,
amazing."
absolutely. And
Whereas
even oh, sorry, go. Finish.
I was gonna say like, and I found the jump between PS4 to PS5 wasn't quite as big. Like it's still big, but we're getting so good that it's hard to be that much better.
Yeah.
Where
Okay.
I can picture like PS5 to PS6, if we still have physical consoles by then, is gonna be that much more like, all right, like it looked amazing before, it still looks amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more amazing we can get right now.
Yeah.
But I'm sure people said that about Nintendo,
Yeah.
like original Nintendo.
Yeah. Well,
So
again,
who
going
knows?
like even think. Well, I think I do agree with you. I think going from PS4 to
Yeah.
PS5, although like there are definitely games on PS5 that
Oh,
really are
1000%. They
starting
look
to like push the
amazing.
limit. Like, there's no way Horizon can run at like the 60 frames, like just as beautiful as it is on the PS4, right?
Mhm.
But if you're also thinking about PS3 to PS4, I would also say is a big jump, especially by the time we got to the end, right? Like if you think about the end of PS3 was the God of War, right? God of War 3, which looks amazing and still does.
Yeah, it
But
did
like the
actually.
end of
Looks incredible.
PS4 was like Last of Us 2, which was very beautiful.
Yeah,
If we
fair
were
enough, fair
yeah.
enough.
So like
Mhm.
imagine
Massive jumps.
that jump in the palm of your hand and going into giving people that ability of like of producing that style of game. And then even right
Oh,
now, like games that were on
amazing.
PS4, so like Doom Eternal for example, that is currently on the Switch, but it is
Mhm.
part of like, the Switch is like so it's called like the Switch cloud streaming, I want to say. So in order for it to run the higher fidelity and kind of bigger, bulkier games,
Yes, okay,
it
I know
needs
what
to
you're
have
talking
an
about.
online connection just to kind of
Mhm.
bridge the gap between performance. Where again, Doom Eternal was very much like it was a PlayStation 4 game. So like run natively, look perfect, everything along those lines. So super excited on my end
Yeah,
to get
it's huge, man.
that bump up in graphical fidelity.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing,
Yeah.
and, like, I do wonder because of the whole Project Q thing going on with PlayStation, with their handhelds, we kind of it kinda went dark, kind of don't really hear much about it, hasn't been much more since the price leaks came out through
Mhm.
the court cases, it's kind of been dead. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's really talked about it because the price points sounded ridiculous. So then if you're thinking that that was gonna be able to, because right now we're dealing with a PlayStation Slim, like PS5 Slim,
Yeah.
that's on the horizon, as is Project Q. So then you got to think, all right, you can't release a PlayStation handheld console too close to Switch 2 because you're just going to get absolutely railroaded. Because it's a new thing versus something that not everybody even wants anyways. So I feel like it's going to be an interesting time over the next, because my opinion, or my completely uneducated thoughts on it would be that Nintendo's aiming for a holiday release for the Switch 2,
Yeah.
like October, November, just getting ready for the holidays type of thing, like your Christmas, your Hanukkahs, like all the gift giving bonanzas.
Yeah.
So then you got to think that I guess Sony's going to try and slap their way in there too, maybe at some point. I don't know.
Yes.
So who knows?
I
We're spitballing here.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. So I know even as part of the report, basically going with like second half, so that would be from like June on. But a big part of this launch is that they want to make sure that there is actually ample stock for the holiday. So
Which is
that
also
actually
appreciated.
makes me maybe lean towards like either a July or an August. Give that first pass through, get that run going, get everyone buying it, and then also being able to kind of restock for that October, November, December holiday season. So one,
That would work too.
yeah, so one
Realistically.
of the two, and then obviously like they've been crazy shortages now, PS5, Xbox. Now it's starting to become much more like you can just walk into an EB Games or GameStop or Best Buy and pick one up. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think hopefully that's out of the realm there. Now, the sources do say that similar to the Switch One, there will be both handheld and dock mode. I think that makes perfect
Ooh,
sense. I
baby.
do not think Switch or like it isn't Nintendo's interest at all to try and veer away from that ship because clearly it works and it
It was
like
beautiful.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah separates it there. But I will say the one thing that did come up in the report is that the system could potentially launch with an LCD screen rather than an
Oh.
OLED screen. And
Oh fuck. I wonder why.
I think honestly, I think the problem. No, I'm not going to say the only reason, but I would say the main reason of it is just to try and keep costs down. So if they are
Wonder
going
if
to
they
be
do both.
adding, yeah, if they're going to be adding in all that power, if they're going to be adding everything else, then it probably makes sense just to kind of, all right, cool, let's maybe skim here, and then similar to the first Switch is down the line, they can come out with the OLED model and try and like re-beef it up. So again, these are all rumors. But at the same time, I think things like that do make sense, especially if they wanted
Hmm.
to release around that. I don't know. I would say what maybe 350 $400 mark.
Which makes sense, and that would put it in line with the previous marks for the Switch. And at the end of the day, too, I feel like if the dev kits are out, it's pretty fair to assume these like this that they have the tech, they just haven't maybe locked down the designs
Yeah,
or aren't releasing the designs. Uh, but the OLED thing is definitely weird. Like I imagine because I have the OLED Switch myself, like that's what I bought because it was an option because it's later in the console lifetime. Like I found the OLED screen makes such an incredible difference in the handheld
yeah,
capacity. Like it looks better handheld than it does on my TV
yeah,
because I don't have an OLED TV. So if I'm gonna go get more power, I would happily pay like $50 or $100 more to get the OLED screen because I use a lot of handheld. But then I guess it doesn't make sense for them to launch both,
yeah.
to have a like to do what Xbox did with the Series S and the Series X,
Yeah, like an
where you have two
OLED
kind of
at
competing
launch. Yeah, the
consoles.
OLED
Yeah,
and the normal. Yeah, I think it
exactly.
will come down the line.
Yeah, that which I hope that they just slap in the OLED if they can get the price down. But yeah, otherwise I don't know. Then it makes me be like, well, I kind of want to wait. I want to wait for the OLED to come out. And like, am I have to wait a year? Do I have to wait 6 like this or 5 or whatever it was for this
Yeah.
one? Like,
I don't know, man. You
I don't
say
know.
you say that now until they announce the console with like a fully remastered Breath of the Wild as well as Metroid Prime 4, and you're like, fuck. Damn you, Nintendo.
Nintendo, you got me again, you son
You
of a bitch.
slimy
Yeah.
bastards.
Now that
Uh,
they got me in with this Switch, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm all hands on deck for the next one as long
it's
as the games are there.
yeah. It's
And
actually
shit, by the time that happens, man, my little guys, they might be wanting their own.
ooh,
You
yeah,
never
no,
know.
that's when you give them your old Switch.
You take
You
the
ain't,
old one.
yeah, absolutely, you ain't getting that new one.
No, 100%.
So continuing on, so basically, much like the
Mhm.
predecessor, much like the current Switch, it does appear that it will accept both physical as well as physical like cartridge slot as well as digital download, which is wonderful. Now
Amazing.
backwards compatibility is something that remains unclear. So Nintendo has definitely said that like, hey, we are here to try and serve as much of like I think right now they're at 130 million Switches sold. So it's like,
Holy
hey, we want
shit.
to make sure that as many of those people are taken care of and everything else.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it's like is Nintendo going to kind of pull some, I don't know, slightly greasy maneuvers so that people in a way are like slightly forced to purchase the new console, right?
Honestly, like,
Yeah,
I will say in Nintendo's defense, as much as they are slimy fucks when it comes to the prices
yeah,
of charging
brutal.
still $80 for Breath of the Wild, which fucking ridiculous. It came out on Wii U. Uh, they have historically have been amazing for supporting backwards compatibility. Like I remember I had the original Game Boy all the way back in the day, the big brick cartridges, and I could play those bastards on every handheld console I had up until the 3DS. Like I played through the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy SP, uh, like all of those cartridges still fit. Like they made it sure that you could do it until they just completely switched the formula for the 3DS.
Yeah,
So I want to say that they're not going to screw people, you know?
yeah,
Like the game cartridges, as long as the games that they're developing because of all the extra power aren't required to be bigger because they just can't store it on there anymore.
yeah,
But at the same time, micro SD cards have come so far. You can get like micro SDs with like 100 or 250 gigs and all that shit. Like they're massive.
yeah,
So they probably can do it. In worst case, even what they've done with the past with like those two different like the built-in adapters where you used to be able to play the shorter Game Boy Advance games and the big tick boys from the original Game Boys, and you could plug them both into the same port and they would just auto fit and like adapt.
yeah,
Not auto, they designed it, but like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Where it'd be like, there's a little baby, like, all right, here's the original Switch cartridge, and
yeah,
you put it in this little slot. And then to be like, no, here's the bigger one where you put in the big boy, the Switch 2
yeah.
cartridges. So
And
I'm gonna say that I have faith that they're not gonna fuck us.
yeah,
That's
I
my 2 cents.
I'd be down for that. I think having kind of either the multiple port or it just accepts both. Like you can
Hmm.
slide in the smaller one and then go with the beefier a beefier cartridge for Switch 2. I'm on board, big guy.
Yeah. You
So
know what? I think it's shakes
yeah.
all shapes and sizes.
Yeah, guy.
It's good move, Nintendo.
So
We'll see.
basically, the final two things that kind of really drive home why the next year or like that second half of 2024 makes a perfect amount of sense. So number one, Tokyo-based industry consultant Dr. Sirkin Toto, and which is like A, dope ass name. B,
Yeah, you got to trust them at
yeah,
that point.
absolutely. I would love to be an industry consultant one day, big guy, one day. But basically, so he expects to kind of through his financial analysis, everything else, that hardware sales are expected to fall about 16% next year, 16% year over year in the current, like in the next kind of upcoming current fiscal years.
Mhm.
And then software sales expected to fall about 16% as well. So we are on that slight decline. And then basically the other part is the Nintendo loves this mid-cycle area, right? So
Yeah.
when the original Switch was released, it was released 3 years after the PS4 and Xbox One. And basically, as of 2024, the second half for this one, it will be actually 4 years since PS5 and Xbox X and S come out. So once again, it is right in line with that perfect kind of mid-cycle point where Nintendo comes in, shakes up everything, people and kind of just really slots really well within that part. They're not competing as much because the other consoles have been out for a while. Clearly, I would say this one is a little bit different from past years because of COVID and like even though Xbox and PlayStation have been out now for roughly around 3 years, like correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon. It certainly
Mm.
doesn't feel that way, right? Just because
No,
just because of
the
how much the
shortages and
shortage and the squeeze kind of made it where it's like not as accessible as past years.
well, and even to that note, like just even with the game delays, like we had like basically 2021 was pretty barren because all the games that were in development got pushed back because of COVID and people working from home and all that stuff, which eventually we kind of got back, which I don't think we'll cover it this week, but maybe next week on how much of a fucking insane gaming year we have
That's
this year.
wild.
Arguably one of the contenders for one of the greatest games in gaming history. Uh, and we've put together a list that may come up in the future episode
Ooh.
uh, to address that. But yeah, 100% Nintendo realized quickly on with the kind of massive flop, I think, with the GameCube when they were still trying to go up against Sony and Xbox and just kind of doing the three-way console war,
Yeah.
where eventually Nintendo realized like, hey, we're fucking Nintendo. We got Mario. All you bitches are going to come play. we're not dick measuring anymore.
Yeah.
We're good. And then they just kind of pulled out and then doubled down and just been going so hard.
Yeah.
Put out crazy sales numbers, consistent, like crazy sales of game numbers. Like, even just the whole thing with the Wii. The Wii was a cultural phenomenon. People fucking just wanted to play Wii Sports in each other's basements. Like,
Yeah.
parents were getting drunk off bottles of wines and doing bowling and putting remotes through TVs everywhere.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was a great time.
No, I think that's actually that's a really good call out. Like I actually just pulled it up. So the GameCube launched on November 18th, 2001. The Xbox released November 15th, 2001. Like, you cannot go more head to head than literally 3 days after.
Exactly.
And then PlayStation 2 came out March 4th, 2000. So PlayStation had been out for a year and a bit, or maybe a little bit. Yeah, either way. It's from March 2000, and then the other one's coming out literally 3 days apart, which is wild. So Nintendo, like you said, I like step back and like, nah, man, we ain't doing that again.
Exactly. And then they just hit bangers with the Wii. Really fell off with the Wii U, but then really doubled back up with the Switch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now it makes perfect sense. The dust has really settled. An appropriate amount of time has gone by. The games are flowing for the next gen consoles. People are happy. People are gaming. It's very common now. Now people are ready to open up their hearts and their wallets to that not green machine, the red machine with his green brother, Nintendo.
Yes. And Manager Toad, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Neat. All right, dude. So that is it for Nintendo. Again, we will keep all of our beautiful Guggernauts in the loop as any more news comes out of the way for Switch 2, because I don't know about you, Brandon, I would likely be buying it day one.
As long as we can get our hands on it.
Yeah. Oh, buddy, we'll find. By that point, Nintendo will be sending us review copies, big guy. Let's go.
Please take our dev kits.
Please. Oh, no, that's a whole other beast. But either way, Brandon,